Hey guys, this is your best boxing friends. I'm Kelsey. This is Rachel. Rachel, Oscar De La Hoya is having a bad week or 7. Seems like all sorts of reports are out about Canelo Alvarez being unhappy with his promotional outfit, Golden Boy Promotions. Um, I'll leave some stories down in the show notes, but basically, Canelo's in the dark about things that he shouldn't be in the dark about. He feels embarrassed by Oscar De La Hoya not showing up to certain press events that he said he was going to be at, etc. Then on top of that, another fighter, Ryan Garcia, who's one of the up-and-coming stars in the sport, also seems unhappy with Golden Boy Promotions, doesn't think he's getting paid enough, doesn't think he's being promoted right, etc. Is this the end of Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions? Rachel, what's going on over there?
I don't know. It's kind of when you have like Canelo Alvarez, like in your stable of fighters, it's really important that everything work as it's supposed to with that fighter.
Yeah.
You don't want that fighter like upset with you, you know?
Yeah, it's your only real job. And I remember, it's different, I think. Remember Floyd Mayweather left Bob Arum, okay? But Bob Arum had promoted Muhammad Ali, has promoted Manny Pacquiao, has promoted before people and after people. But if you remember, Oscar De La Hoya started his promotional company while he was still fighting. He was the star. And then the signing of Canelo Alvarez was a huge deal, especially after all the Al Haymon managed fighters left, who used to be promoted by Golden Promotions. So this is basically Oscar's only job is promoting one of the biggest stars. So it's a big job. I'm not saying it's not a big job, but I'm saying that I feel less good about this happening to Oscar than I would if it was Bob Arum or somebody who had a proven track record of being a
Bob Arum has like all the history.
Yeah.
So like if he loses a big fighter, like
he'll get another one.
Yeah. But like with Golden Boy, you would have to ask yourself, right? Like if you're a boxer out there, well, Canelo Alvarez, like say he leaves Golden Boy, like do I want to sign with Golden Boy?
Why would you? They don't have a great
Then not to mention
track record.
You're aware of maybe Oscar De La Hoya, and he's had a lot of struggles with addiction, which is like I have a tremendous amount of compassion for, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to go tie myself contractually to a business that's ran by somebody who may be struggling with an active addiction. Like that wouldn't be smart for me if I were a fighter.
Before we get into what we're going to talk about a little bit about addiction, because we have experience in that. The thing about Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions, the only thing that they're really known for is making some pretty good fights, in that they often pit fighters in fights against fighters and the underdogs win. They're not doing that on purpose. They're not good at it. This is not what a matchmaker does. You hear people talk about matchmakers a lot. Top Rank has great matchmakers because they make guys appear better than they actually are, and that happens over and over again. A good example would be Miguel Cotto, who Top Rank promoted to stardom, super stardom. Wins some Golden Boy Promotions, gets beat Boston Trout. Nobody saw that coming, and the reason is because they're not good at that. They're not good at putting guys in fights. Now, it's good for us fans, you could argue, but they're not good at doing what a promoter, a matchmaker, etc. is supposed to do. You and I have a long history of addiction in our families and in our lives. Mm-hmm. We're both members of addiction-based communities. I'll speak for myself. I think it's pretty known that I was a pretty hardcore drug addict, so I feel like we have experience, and I'm gratefully in recovery. So the story I make up, and I'm going to say, I'm making this up. I have no information, obviously. But the story I have to make up almost when I see somebody who has struggled with addiction in the past, who's reportedly and confirmedly struggled with addiction in the past, is when they start being super aloof, when they're not showing up to things they're supposed to show up to, when they're not doing their job. Their only job is maybe some kind of addiction is popping up in their lives again. I think that's that's a story I make up. So maybe that's happening. I'm not saying that anything for sure, and I'm not even saying that it's the same addiction, but addiction's crafty, and addiction can change forms. There's all sorts of things to be addicted to in this world. So my heart goes out if that's true.
Let's just say this. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at this story that's coming out, like, which is kind of trickled out over last week, right?
Yeah.
Like, Canelo got stripped of a belt, and there was a little
Twitter.
bit of talk
He
about
went to
that.
Twitter, was mad. That's not what you want to see.
And so somebody might ask and be like, Golden Boy, like, how could this happen? How could you have like Canelo Alvarez? How could you risk like this relationship? That's a huge, huge fighter that you have here, right? Like, how could you risk this? And what I know from like my experience with addiction and observations of addiction is that, oh my gosh, addiction can like screw some things up.
Yeah.
Like, things will happen that you're like, you never thought like this would happen, and then there it is. Like, things have fallen apart in a way that you like couldn't like even imagine. And so like that's what I just wonder, like, in this situation, and given like that something said like embarrassment about Oscar not showing up for things. If you can't depend, and I know as media we've been at like one event in particular where we were told Oscar's going to be here, and like
not only that,
interviews.
we were told by the public relations people, hey, are you guys going to come to this fight? We weren't really planning on going, but they're like, come to this fight. Oh, and we'll let you talk to Oscar. You can interview Oscar. Mm-hmm. But that didn't happen. It's because Oscar. And when we were at the event, Oscar, he was there for some of it, but I didn't feel like he was present. Right? It was almost like, and I've been in addiction. So if that is the case with Oscar, I'm not saying it is, but if it is the case, I've done that. I've been places and not present, right? I'm somewhere else. I'm somewhere else in my head. And just in the past, throughout the years, my experience going to Golden Boy promoted fights is that Oscar De La Hoya is often either super engaged, talking to everybody, shaking hands, kissing babies, politician. It's great. Or he's aloof / shady in that he's not showing up to things. They promise he's going to be there. He doesn't show up. And it doesn't seem intentional. Sometimes they give you an idea, oh, this person might be there because they want people to come.
Right.
But a lot of these things aren't those type of things. And so I worry about that and what's going on with Oscar and that company. Especially Oscar was a beloved fighter in the United States and abroad and everywhere. Everybody knows who Oscar De La Hoya is. But it seems like a dangerous time right now for his company. His company that is primarily built on having the star of the sport, the biggest signee of any signee today, if we started all over, would be Canelo Alvarez because of his age, because he has the ability to make the most money over the next 10 or 20 years. Still, he's still very young for a superstar fighter. So it's a huge deal. How do you let that go? How, if you're Oscar, let's say, we were talking about this outside earlier, and you said, well, or maybe Oscar's just aloof or got something else going on. Who knows what he has going on? But if you're that, then you better have somebody under you. You better hire somebody, not your family friend, and you better hire like a real professional.
Well, that's what
to get the job done.
I would want from somebody like Oscar, right? Like, I think it's important. Like, it's his name. It's Golden Boy Promotions. Yeah. Like, I get that, but like, either you don't want to be as involved as what's needed, or you're struggling with addiction, or I don't know, it could be something else. I'm not
whatever else.
I'm not omnipotent. I can't think of, whatever it is, you need to have like people under you that, whether you're there or not, they can run this like a well-oiled machine. So like, great, Oscar's here. He's going to do this, everything's good. Oh, Oscar didn't show up. Plan B, here's what we're going to do. And we're going to make sure that Canelo's happy. It just seems like maybe, I don't know, maybe those people are in place. Maybe their hands are tied. Because nothing would be worse than having somebody who's not fit for a job, trying to manage everything, and tying the hands of all of like his managers back.
Yeah.
Like it just... Yeah, so my hope would be to have people in place regardless of what's going on. My biggest hope is that if Oscar were continuing to struggle with active addiction, that he that he would get to a place where he could like recover or enter recovery, because addiction's for life. It's a lifelong illness. But to enter like serious recovery where you could be honest, and only from a place of honesty can you move forward with addiction. And so that would be like my biggest hope for Oscar. But again, we are drawing huge conclusions and making up stories based on no data. I'm basing this solely on Canelo saying embarrassment about not showing up to events, and
etc. There's all
that
sorts of stuff
seems like a common thing that you hear from loved ones
of people that
struggle with addiction.
I will say, beyond the addiction thing, the story that we're making up, I'll say that again, definitely what I can see, just from what I can see, beyond all that, reeks of dysfunction. I grew up in all sorts of dysfunction. I've been around a lot of dysfunction my whole life. I know what dysfunction looks like. Dysfunction looks reactionary, always behind the curve. He's sending out press release statements suddenly and with great force because of things that didn't get taken care of. Press statements that never should have had been made.
Right.
When you're one of the better, more well-known, higher profile boxing promotional companies in the world, a person, Oscar himself, has so many years at the top of the sport, knew and knows all the people. This shouldn't be happening. So I tell you who's licking their chops right now is Eddie Hearn at Matchroom Boxing and Al Heyman for PBC. Those guys, can you imagine the coup that it would be if somehow Canelo could get out of his contract with Golden Boy and sign with one of those other promoters?
Thing to do.
It is, but I mean, if the problem Oscar's in, I think, from a legal perspective, is if you're not doing your part of the contract, if he can prove
somebody
that,
has that,
and if there's information out there that
or
shows,
if somebody's so upset that they're willing to lose a little bit of money to get out of a contract,
then yeah. So I hope, obviously, we want what's best for Oscar.
You don't think at this point Canelo would just start his own promotional company?
He would probably do that. Yeah, but then he could do that and sign with Al Heyman and fight all the PBC fights. I mean, there's things that he could do. I don't know what he would do. Maybe he would just surprise everybody and sign with Main Events. I don't know, but I know that it's not good right now to be a Golden Boy Promotions fan. Do they have fans of? Actually, there are fans of promotional companies and entities, which I don't get, people, but it's fine if you are. So if you're rooting for them, I root for everybody in boxing as individuals. I hope they're all living their best life, doing their best work. I root for you, my best boxing friends out there, because I know that living your best life and doing your best work, part of that is coming here and hanging out with us, your best boxing friends. We're always going to shoot straight with you, tell you our thoughts and opinions. We'll try to always be certain to tell you when it is our opinion, and almost always it's an opinion.
Yeah.
Okay? So thanks for watching our show.
Thanks, guys.
Like, comment, and subscribe. And if you can dunk a basketball, dunk one for us. I've always wanted to be able to do that.
I decided the other day that I should try posting more on Insta stories.
Okay.
So if people missed it, they might have, because I don't know if you're following us on Instagram or following Boxing Kelsey and Rachel on Instagram. But I had a long talk on Insta stories about how it can be lonely being a boxing fan.
Hey, do you live in Sugar Land, Texas? Maybe that'd be weird, right? So do we. Yeah, it's hard not having a community of people, just in general in life, but also in the thing that you love, because we don't know a lot of people that really love boxing. And to love boxing, it's so hard to bring people into boxing, because then you've got a laundry list of ridiculous things to explain. You know what I mean? They're like, "You see the champion?" And you're like, "Well, is he? I'll tell you all the things that maybe make him a champion or not." So anyway, look us up.
If you're interested, more pontifications
Instagram
by Rachel and or Kelsey.
Probably just Rachel.
Probably just me.
I'm not even signed into that. So if you're sending us whatever, I mean, I see it, I follow it, I like stuff, I comment on it.
You can follow us on Instagram. Kelsey will link the handle. He'll put it in the show notes.